Are you ready for the weekend yet? We have events, news, and a guest for you to enjoy this Lake Life weekend. Hello and welcome to another episode of Lake Life Weekend Podcast. We are in weekend 13, or in week 13, approaching weekend 13, and actually an unlucky number, I suppose, and we are asked to stay at home. I don't need to refresh the news about what's going on in the world, and I hope you're all safe and healthy at home, and I appreciate you tuning in to listen to our program. Meanwhile, we have a lot of recordings. In fact, we have about 140 recordings in our archive, so feel free to browse around in all the episodes from the last 2 years if you are somewhat bored and you want to learn about our area and the people that make a difference here. In this week's episode, we were able to interview the fire chief of Detroit Lakes, Ryan Swanson. He has been with us once before in a different role. He's also a breeder of our small Munsterländer breed of Oscars, and he was with us a couple of years back. So now he is the fire chief, and I always wanted to learn about volunteering fire department and what that all means, how it's set up, how it works, how much help they need, and how much they are needed and relevant for our safety in our community. And in fact, I suppose with what's going on in the world right now, and we have time to reflect and actually think about what our contribution is maybe, and how much we live together, and how much it's important to be a strong community. Maybe this is actually a very great moment to air this, and I hope you will enjoy it and learn something, and maybe you get inspired to make a difference in the future too and join the fire department. So I don't want to keep this much longer before this interview starts. Please also feel free to browse to our website, lakelifeweekend.com. We are posting some articles and there's lots to find, some recipes that you may want to try at home while you have the time, and all those kinds of things. Email us, start a dialogue, go to our Facebook page, let us know what you're doing, let us know what you're thinking. Some happy notes maybe, how much you're looking forward to the spring and getting out again, enjoying lake life, or send us some of your pictures. Any kind of dialogue is appreciated right now. So we hope to enrich the time that you stay home and stay safe. We wish you all the best in health, and you continue to listen to our program. So now enjoy our interview with Fire Chief Ryan Swanson from Detroit Lakes. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to our interview part. I'm here with Ryan Swanson. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Dirk.
Thank you for coming back, because you have been here last year speaking about Bertha and your breeding of the small Munsterländer dog breed, like our Oscar.
Yes.
But now, since this January, very recently, you have an additional role for the community. You are the new fire chief for Detroit Lakes.
That is correct.
And actually, I wanted to speak about the fire department and the responsibilities and learn more about it years ago. And I never was able to get my hands on the fire chief before. And since I knew you, I approached you. And thank you for coming again.
Well, thanks for the invite.
Yes. So to explain why I think it's so important to speak about it. I'm not sure if everybody is aware that it's a full volunteering, organized fire department.
Yes. Where a lot of people get misled, or ideas is like the city of Detroit Lakes, the city of Perm, where we're in now. It's all volunteer. There's nobody at the fire station. Everybody's at their own job, living their life regular. And then when there's a page for service, they all carry a pager on them, and then they get paged out, and they all come running.
Come running.
Yep.
And when I moved to the area, and I really am very uneducated about the processes, because we usually always just think of police, or we are confronted more with police cars than fire trucks, which is kind of good because we don't want the fires. However, it's a very relevant component to our daily lives, because the fire department does not only rescue the kitty in the tree like in an old comic book. You save lives, you protect our real property, and then you also emergency responders. You're coming out when there are significant accidents. And I want to learn more about all the roles that the department carries. But also I really want to spotlight that in a community like Detroit Lakes, where we are almost 10,000 people, let's say, at least 9, and then in the summers more, I thought it was actually somewhat scary, or definitely something that we may want to address, that we are asking and taking advantage of all the volunteering work only, where maybe there should be a budget item and it should be a paid salary. Like, we need a protection for all of those services that we are getting kind of for free right now. So there's a lot of community members that may not even be aware of that we are piggy banking on the neighbor's choice to donate their time. And I'm talking a lot, but this is all in my head at all times, and now there's my outlet, and I appreciate you coming and spotlighting this with me and talking about it. But before we deep dive on Detroit Lakes, maybe tell us more, how did that all work? Maybe a little history. When, if you know, when was the fire department, when was that all organized? 1850? How did that all work with fire protection in our communities, if you know about it? Do you have, like, how did that work? Like, when was that all invented, and how is that structured? How many helpers do we have? And how is that, like, that a small community like Perham and then a bigger one like Detroit Lakes doesn't have salaried? Help us a little bit actually come to this, how that all is set up, maybe, for the lay.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things we're going to be talking about there, but a
Yes.
little bit of the history. I'm not totally on dates, but obviously the fire brigades back in the day were created because of a fire would break out in town and they'd burn the town to ground. So they had to have some type of a resource to stop this. Back then there was a lot of bucket brigades that you'd actually hear of.
What is that? Is that really like a horse wagon with water and then buckets?
Yeah, I mean, that's where originally it started, and then they went with steam engines that were powered by or run by horses, and then they could actually charge a line and create some pressure on it and start putting water on it. So back in the early days, nobody went in. They would surround the area, put water in from the windows. The gear, the technology, all that stuff was not there to make it safe for an individual to go in and fight a fire inside
A structure.
Now obviously we're talking 1900s here, but since in the last 50 years, obviously technology has really increased and stuff like that, and the gear has gotten better, so people can actually go in and fight the fire from the inside out instead of trying to fight the fire from the outside in and protecting just neighboring structures.
But that's what happened first. We want to condemn it, kind of control it, I guess, and let it go. Back in 1870,
Yep.
Not to burn the whole town down, just maybe a little part.
One block.
One block.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So try to control it to a block or a store, and where now we're trying to control it to a room. Get in, get it out, and then so.
Okay, so let's do this because we hear this. For example, let's talk Fargo maybe for a split second because there was this big fire
Yep.
in I don't know 1873 or a little later maybe, but it destroyed all downtown. Something like this happened in Detroit Lakes as well.
Yeah, DL's had some pretty
Oh,
significant
right,
fires.
by the
you know.
hotel and
You know,
things.
down in the early days, and even as back as far as my dad was the past chief of DL, and even in his time, there was some major downtown fires. But they were able to keep those to a building or two, which is still half a city block, but it's not. They didn't lose the whole block or the whole downtown portion of the city.
So when we look at 1870, 1890, 1910, in those small communities, it was volunteer. We had a horseway. We had some sort of a big tank arrive, and you called it bucket. That before we had pressure, we were very limited. When did the fire hydrant arrive, and how can we connect to that? How does all that stuff play into the city? And
fire hydrants, I don't know the date when they came about. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into the whole fire hydrant theory with how much water can your city supply, how big are your wells. You take the city of Callaway, which isn't that far from us, but they're in a lot of clay soil, so their water doesn't filter or fill back into the well as fast. So a city like Callaway can't keep the water tower full if a fire department's pulling water out of a hydrant real fast. So they'll actually drain the tower out. So even in town, we get into situations where we have to haul water with tenders. We call them tenders now in the fire service, not tankers, because the federal government said tankers fly. There's only a few airplanes in the world but that's what they said. So all the fire departments had to change their terminology from tankers to tenders. But yeah, we can have a fire in town, and we'll be hauling water from neighboring communities, from lakes, from rivers.
because the tower
The wells cannot keep up.
Isn't it interesting? I just threw the fire hydrant out, and,
Yeah.
and we are like in a house as a consumer, and there's a plug-in, and we plug in our phone, and we're not thinking where the electricity is coming from. We see those fire hydrants, and we believe they're under pressure, and we believe there's endless water, but there isn't.
There isn't. Yes, they are under pressure, and so like for a house fire, stuff like that, there's obviously enough water there to take care of that type of a job. But in some communities, if it's a downtown fire, there's not enough water filling back in. In the city of Detroit Lakes, there's plenty of wells. The city has, I think, 5 to 7 wells that are pumping into the water tower, so they can put water in as fast as we're taking it out.
I see.
But other communities cannot.
Wow, scary.
Yep.
Okay, so I start to ask questions left and right. If we go back to history and Detroit Lakes, it grew. It was. How was it formed? Did somebody appoint some? How was a fire department in a city established, like a Rotary Club? I mean, how did that all come about?
Well, obviously, a lot of communities are somebody had something bad happen. This is obviously back in the early days, so they really went for a need, and then those people were the ones that originally got things going.
Mm-hmm.
So
it not happen again.
So it didn't happen to my neighbor. Mm-hmm. I had it happen to me. I don't want it to happen to you. So let's put something together. And then, nowadays it's more, a lot of cities. Minnesota is actually a state that is very volunteer, paid on call, we call it, staffed heavy. We don't have a lot of full-time, solid career type departments. Obviously the metro, there's the majority, but up in the rural community, it's all volunteer. It's your neighbors, it's your cousins, it's the guy at the end of your block, and they're the ones getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to come help you out when you're having a bad day. So
yeah, so I always thought it was like community size, which mandated then at a point a professional infrastructure, like a paid. At least that's how it is in Germany. I don't know what the sizes are, but I thought at some size of a city there must be full. Is that not so in Minnesota?
No.
Oh, really?
You take like the city of Bloomington, volunteer fire department.
Really?
Yeah. they have a lot of people.
Well,
You know,
because like a
it's
lot
Bloomington,
of citizens,
yeah.
and then there's a lot of volunteers.
Yeah. And
Lucky.
and then a lot of people in today's time will use the city of Bloomington where they want to go career, so they'll use that as a stepping stone. So they'll move into Bloomington, join their volunteer fire department, be on their fire department for 3-4 years, get their feet on the ground in the job, and then they have some work experience, so then they can apply for St. Paul and get a full-time job. So
Okay. Interesting. For a city like Detroit Lakes, how many volunteer members do we have?
well, right now I just put another probationary member on last night. So that's going to get us back up to 25. We do run a 30-person roster, but we've had a lot of turnover lately with people taking jobs out of the area, some retirements, stuff like that. So it's been a lot harder the last couple of years to keep a full roster.
Okay.
The sense of volunteering doesn't seem to be there like it used to, and I don't understand that. But I talked to the JCs the other day. They're struggling to find new members. We've been struggling to find new members. So it's
So giving back or giving to the community is something outdated? It feels
it
scary.
feels like
I mean,
that. It's scary. It's feeling that that's becoming a thing of the past. The individual we put on last night is 36 years old.
Not 22.
Not 22. And it's
it's unfortunate. I mean, like now we can get into a rabbit hole on analyzing, and I don't want to say these millennials, because I have a lot of millennials that I work with and which are very ambitious and actually very thoughtful. So I don't want to put stamps on people's forehead, but okay, it's evident that we have shrinking community involvement. It seems, which is alarming. I find because the risk doesn't shrink. We are growing. Our communities are growing, and we need even more support. So we are actually missing 20%. So we need 5 more people to have a full roster for a city of 8,500.
Well, and that's the city. And then like the city of Detroit Lakes, we cover our 3 townships. So we're actually covering 16,000 people for our fire department, and we're trying to do it with a 30-person roster. So it, being the county seat like Detroit Lakes is, obviously that's where a lot of stuff happens. There's a lot of traffic to DL, so we're running close to 300 fire calls a year.
Almost one a day.
Almost one a day.
Really?
As a volunteer organization. So it does put a lot of strain on your everyday life, your job. Your boss has to be really on board, things like that. When I joined 16 years ago, a lot of the department was built up of tradespeople. A lot of them were self-employed, plumbers, electricians, garage door guys, stuff like that, where they could just take the time and go do it. The one thing that you have to remember is when they're fighting a fire, they're not installing a garage door. They're not making any money either. So there's a lot more than just volunteering their time that volunteer firefighters give up.
We pay for it. I mean, eventually somebody pays for it. If it's the entrepreneur, he willingly puts his own money and time in it. Or if a business owner, like your business, you somebody pays.
Correct.
Okay, so now we learned we need 5 more volunteers. Now let's go. Maybe I know where you're located. Maybe go a little technical. So we have this big building. I think it's 3 overhead doors or 4. How many machinery is in there? How is a fire department equipped? So what does it need? What does it have? Like, tell us a little bit more about that.
So at our fire hall, I have 6 bays in the front and 4 in the back.
Oh.
Yeah. So we have a heavy rescue. So our heavy rescue obviously is going to do our JAWS calls, our extrications, our trench collapse, our grain bins, if somebody's trapped in a grain bin, pretty much anything that's not fire related type of a call,
Cutting material, cutting tools, and
Yep, airbags and cutting tools and chop saws and
it's a whole truck filled with equipment.
yes, yep.
And I want to talk monies in a little bit too, because we all have to buy. Like if we have 10 bays and 10 vehicles, I guess maybe we have a value of like $5 million of equipment plus, I guess. But let's go in that too, because we have to buy all that too. That's why we have those fundraisers, I assume.
No. Well, yeah, that's a different topic. But but yeah, so like with the rescue truck, then we have a ladder. We have an aerial truck that goes. Ours is a 102 footer, so it'll extend out 102 feet.
How high can it go?
Well, you can run it up to about 87 degrees, so almost 90, and then straight up 102 feet.
Oof.
So
I'm scared of heights.
You wouldn't want to be up there.
I don't want to be.
So that wouldn't be good for you, Dirk. And then we have a city engine and a rural engine.
What's the difference?
And the difference there is our city engine is designed to hook up to a hydrant.
Ah, sure.
Our
pump, pump. Does it?
They have, everything has pumps on it except for the rescue. So the city engine has hose already set up on it to hook to a hydrant, so we can, what we call tag a hydrant, come in, tag the hydrant, and we have water coming from the city. The rural truck carries a portable tank that we set on the ground, and then it's got a hard hose that we will put in the tank, and then we can draw the water out.
You unload the tank?
Yeah, we unload the tank, put it on the ground, and then the tenders back up to it and dump their water in it.
Oh, you need two vehicles?
Yeah.
One comes with the water, one comes with the tank.
Well, yeah, so our trucks all have 1,000 gallons of water on them already. So we initially, when the first truck gets there, we pull the hose off. We have 1,000 gallons to attack it with. The idea is, or the theory is, that water is going to sustain us hopefully long enough while they get the tank set up and get more water dumped in it. And then we start doing a cycle. So then we'll have, then the tender will leave. They will go to a water source, which normally we have a utility or a brush truck sitting at the water source.
Which is a pond where they
pump
it out?
Yep, so they've already augured a hole through it for us in the wintertime. We have ice, so they've already augured a hole. They got a pump out on the lake, and then they'll pump the water up to the road, fill the tender back up, and then keep everybody going in circles. In the rural community, it's what we got to do. I mean, there's no good water at your home if you don't live in the city, and we'll bring in mutual aid from neighboring towns to help haul water. We go to neighboring towns to help them haul water. It's what we got to do.
Quite the process.
Yeah.
A lot of machinery.
Yes. Yeah.
And people needed.
Takes a lot of resources. Yeah.
So we have, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 engines or machines. What is in the other bays?
So we have the two engines, the city engine, the rural engine, the ladder truck, the rescue truck. Then we have a backup engine because stuff breaks.
Oh, a backup.
Nothing runs forever.
I see.
I mean, if it's in the shop and we have a call, I still need a truck.
Sure. So we have two, yeah.
Yeah, and then we have a tender, something to haul the water. So then that's going to contain my front bays. That's my first 6 bays.
Ah.
The back side, in the city of DL, I'm going to have two bays are brush trucks for grass fires. Because obviously, if we get a field on fire, we don't take the big trucks out there because they'll just get stuck. So we have pickups. We have pickups with smaller tanks, smaller pumps that we can get out there and fight the grass fires with. And then I have a hose truck, which carries about 900 feet of hydrant hose on, because obviously the fire hydrants are only on the corners. And if you're halfway down the city block, I got to get the two hooked together. So I carry 900 feet on a hose truck, which is a pickup with a flatbed, and then the hose truck will lay the hose between. So it takes a lot of resources to get it all put together and moving. And obviously, as fast as we like it to happen, it's not just snap the fingers and it's done. You know, it does take time
to set up, to start to fight a fire.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a fire doubles in size every minute, so obviously
really
we're in a rush trying to get this done, because the faster we get it done, the less the fire builds.
There's so many questions that I have, and also like brush fires. Okay, so we have those warnings that when we pass by, hey, don't do campfires. Like, that's what happens at a brush fire that can escalate and take over a whole field or even go into a woods in the summer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. One thing before I forget that, and I don't have anything to write down, but we have, I think, a high responsive fire department, meaning you're extremely quick, like within a minute or within 3 minutes, or there's certain criteria, and then we have like an A rating, or fill us in. Like there's a certain rating that we have as a city of Detroit Lakes, and then we are really, really good. And I think that has consequences if we lose that. It has consequences on our risk and our insurances. Can you,
Yep.
You know where I'm leading? So
Yep.
how does that all work?
So it's ISO rating is what you're talking about, and the city of Detroit Lakes, every city gets an ISO rating. So what's that rated off is how good is your fire department? How good are your hydrants? How good is your communication system? How good is everything? And
we're audited as a community.
It's a community.
It's an audit.
And it all comes together, and they give us a rating. So, the first thing that people forget about is when you call 911, it takes somebody time to enter the information. It's not 10 seconds. It's 2 minutes, realistically. So you call, you report your emergency, they type it in, and then they have to
communicate.
Then they have to page it out and then tell us about it. So we're already about 1.5 to 2 minutes behind.
From the phone call.
From the initial phone call.
Mm.
So now they send a page out. So in the city of Detroit Lakes, they send a page out. So that means if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I have 30 people sleeping. They all get out of bed, get dressed, get in their cars, and drive to the fire hall. Normally speaking, I can have a truck out in about 3 to 4 minutes. Is our and that's in the middle of the night.
Response time.
Yeah. That's 5 individuals that have gotten up, got to the fire hall, gotten dressed in their turnout gear, and got in a truck and got the truck out of the station in 5 minutes.
From the phone call.
Yeah. Well, no, from the page.
Message.
From the page.
From the page.
So now we're at 3 to 4 minutes there, plus those 2. So now we're at 6 minutes.
Mm.
And now they have to drive to wherever they're going.
Mm.
So if you're out by Cotton Lake, for say, we have a 10-minute drive.
Yeah, you can.
Now we're at 18 minutes. It just starts escalating. So, the worst part is when there's a fire or something like that, and being a chief, I'd go right to the scene.
You head straight.
Yeah, when I'm sitting there waiting for it, it does feel like eternity. I mean, you know what the people that are needing your call of service are like. When are they coming? Even though it's only taken realistic time, it feels like eternity when you are standing there. You
just watch it destroy everything.
Yep. I mean, sometimes it does, and other times it a lot of the things is ventilation. Fire needs air, and if you leave a door open, that's air. It's an airflow, and then it just starts feeding it and build it. So the more you can keep the stuff shut down, the less it will build, the better chance we have of saving more stuff.
Okay. Interesting.
Yep.
So now we know how fast or how long it takes, but how fast we can be. So I understand that the city of Detroit Lakes is actually extremely fast in their response. We are very responsive, correct? And we have a certain rating. Like I think one of the best.
No, not the best. But we are at about, I think, a 4.
Okay.
We don't have enough water. We don't have enough radio. We don't have enough all that stuff to get to a 1. It just isn't going to be possible. So the city of DL, I believe we're at an ISO rating of a 4. So what happens with that? If our call time gets slower, we get rid of an engine, our backup engine. Let's say the city decides they don't need it, we sell it. Then we lose our pumping capabilities. So then all of a sudden we end at a 5 or a 6 just because of what we've done. Well, what happens then is the city's ISO rating goes up from a 4 to a 6. Most people go, well, what does that do to me? It affects your insurance. Your insurance, you pay a discount. You get a discount because of how good your fire department is.
Property insurance.
Property insurance. And it's more for Obviously, people that live close to the fire hall, because once you get out into the rural, it's too far away. It is what it is. But for the city businesses, the residents of the city, the ones out a couple miles are the ones really benefiting from this. So if that fire department rating drops, your homeowner's insurance goes up.
Mm.
So it gets into a pay me now, pay me later. We need the taxes. We need the tax money to keep the fire departments funded.
To afford the machinery.
To afford the machinery, which I know you want to go on the finance side.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't fund the department, or we decide to take equipment out of the budget and say we're not going to replace it, then those numbers fall off. Well, then now you as a homeowner, you pay more on not the tax side. Now you're paying more for homeowners insurance. So now you're on the pay me later. So and it's not as easy to get those numbers back as it is to maintain them.
To maintain them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is like the most critical thing, and that's why I like to do this deep dive and actually discuss a couple items. One is we need help to have to be responsive fast enough, and then I think we need enough funding. Like a city like Detroit Lakes, where we are very wealthy in a way, I suppose, or we have a wealthy community, let's call it, and then I'm afraid not enough people know about, like, we see the fire department, we think of it, I mean, we accept it, we see the fire hydrant, but we never question the pressure. we just think, oh, there's the fire, where's the hose, it's right there. It's like so I think what can we do? Like the city, I think you mentioned, has not increased the budget for almost a decade. Right, like the financial support from the city of Detroit Lakes has not been growing according to inflation even.
Correct, and that's, obviously there's a little bit of growth there, that type of stuff, but it's not growing as with the rate of the gear and the trucks and everything else. And obviously, part of the stuff that is well, where's the money going to come from? At the end of the day, if you have a tragedy, you're thankful that the firemen show up. Everybody that I've talked to, whether it's in another area that has had a fire at one time, they're like, oh, I'm so thankful the guys came, they did a nice job. Well, it takes money to have that equipment sitting there. Yes, it doesn't get taken out every day. City of Detroit Lakes, we take it out almost every day. City of Frazee, not so much. Audubon, not so much. But it still takes a lot of money to have that stuff sitting there. So available. And that's what taxes are for. And I had a really interesting past chief tell me one time, he goes, you have to look at the fire department like an insurance company. You have to pay your insurance. When you get in a car accident, you have to pay the deductible. So your taxes in a lot of areas pay for the equipment to be there, but then when you have a fire call, they charge you a fire call fee, and that is just to offset the expenses, the diesel fuel that needs to burn in the trucks, the maintenance, that type of stuff. That's what that money is your deductible. So, so it's a different thinking, and once that fire chief kind of explained his thinking on me, I was like, well, that does make a lot of sense, just because you pay the taxes and the equipment sits there, if it's needed, there's going to be a fee to associate with it in a lot of areas.
Additional charge. There's additional cost, just the availability cost, and then the usage. Yeah, of course. No. Is the city, like, are we missing equipment? Like, we're missing already staff, and I think they do get compensated a little bit, right?
Our staff?
Like, do we get a little if we go out, or is there some sort of a small incentive, payback, let's call it, or stipend, or?
Not as much as the guys would like in the city of Detroit Lakes. So we get we have a pot of money, and at the end of the day, we take the fire calls for the year, how many firefighters showed up to them, we divide it all out, and then how many you showed up. If you were a firefighter, Dirk, we would say, okay, well, we had 250 calls, and we had this many firefighters show up, and it averaged out that you get $6 a call, and you made 100 calls, so you get $600. That's what you get for the year in the city of DL, which you think about it isn't a lot. One thing eventually I'm going to push for after I get the gear all where it needs to be is an hourly rate. So when these individuals that are self-employed or work for an employer, let the employer won't pay them when they go on a fire call, they are still receiving some type of financial benefit to do this job. I mean,
assistance, kind of.
At the end of the day, if the city of Detroit Lakes, the city of Perm, had to go full-time fire because nobody was showing up anymore, you would see a huge increase in taxes.
Imagine you would strike.
Well,
I mean, not that we are.
Yeah.
But like, if some people had to wake up, like, where's the fire department?
Yeah.
Well, they all quit. They don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. City of Maine. Look at Maine. It was just in the media. 18 firefighters handed in their pager at a city meeting. 18. Because the city, and I don't know the whole details, but the city administrator reversed the decision the chief made, and 18 of the firefighters said, if our chief can't make a decision, we don't want to be part of this. Well, if 18 firefighters walked off of our department right now, and we're sitting at 24, 25, leaves us with 7, nothing's going to happen.
Wow.
I mean, it's going to put the city in a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, you always have to be thinking about that. But now, so let's look at the city of Perm now that says we can't get enough volunteers, or the city of DL cannot get enough volunteers. So now we have to look at paid staff. Well, staff and firefighters to run to these calls, and then obviously we would start helping the ambulance services because we're available. You're going to see budgets that are going from $200,000-$300,000 a year to $2 million. And that 90
times 5,
and 90% of it
10.
is going to be wages.
Yeah.
It's not increasing the gear. It's not increasing the truck. It's paying wages.
Mm-hmm.
So volunteer fire departments save the taxpayers a ton of money, but we still got to have the money to buy our gear.
Yeah, we just cannot take it for granted. We cannot take for granted that we're protected, and just it's like miraculously coming from what budget. So, okay, so we don't want this to happen, and we don't want to like be negative. Actually, we want to be very grateful positive and thankful that we actually have enough volunteers, but we do want to raise the awareness, and maybe we can find some, but so we also should ask for additional funding to have at least the gear. You also need to be safe, you guys, right? I mean, like,
yes.
You also need to be safe, saving us as a community. So you need the proper equipment, whether it be clothing and protective gear, but also machinery.
Correct.
So is there a list? Is there a small list? Is there a lot of demand right now where we should improve our equipment, our stuff?
One thing is the Minnesota fiscal reporting or financial reporting. They posted a deal earlier this year that Minnesota is now the 48th lowest funded state for firefighting. So everything else that this great state does, we don't fund fire departments.
Compared to the rest of the nation.
Compared to the rest of the nation. So obviously this throws a lot of controversy out there as to why. But, eventually we got to get there. So now when we look at our gear, most people, it's a coat, it's a pant, it's a helmet. It's $3,000 for the coat and the pant. It's $400 for the boot. It's $400 for the helmet. It's $100 for the glove. The hood alone is $100. I just ordered 50 hoods today at $115 a piece for the hoods. Okay, air packs, $15,000 for the breathing system. So as I can see, you're running numbers in your head. You're at $22,000 range per firefighter just for the gear that he's wearing. You haven't gotten the trucks. We haven't gotten the hose. We haven't gotten the axes. We haven't gotten the thermal imaging cameras. We haven't gotten into airbags or jaws or nothing. We're at $22,000 to $23,000 per firefighter just for gear that he can walk around in. So it gets to be expensive. It takes a ton of money.
Yeah.
So part of that gets into, and maybe we can dive into that now or later, but is in the social media. Social media right now, the news, cancer and firefighters. And it's a big deal. The buildings, the plastics, everything we buy and build our houses out of are containing plastics. Plastics have chemicals in them. Those chemicals, they get on your skin. They can cause cancer. But there's obviously what they're not pushing is there is a way to prevent this and protect the firefighter. We have the hoods I just bought, $115 hood. I can buy a $20 hood. It's not going to be a cancer protecting hood. So I buy the best. I buy the best hoods I can. I want to buy the best gear I can. I want to keep that firefighter as clean and as safe as he possibly can. So I buy the best gear to keep the carcinogens on his gear, not on his skin. Then we have to wash the gear. So they have to wash the gear in special washers that cost a lot of money just for the washers to extract the chemicals and take care. And then we also shower within the hour. So as soon as they get out of the smoke and done with the call, they got to hit a shower. We've even taken that to the point of putting body wipes, face wipes, baby wipe type, like a baby wipe, and we carry those on the truck. So that way they can wipe their face, they can wipe their hands, they can wipe their armpits, anywhere where they're sweating to get those chemicals. Because as you sweat, your pores open up, those chemicals will want to go in. So we can...
the smoke now we're talking
from
like
the smoke
at a call. Yeah.
Yep.
So risky.
Is that's where the stuff's in. It's in the smoke. So we can push all the bad, and firefighters are getting cancer and firefighters are dying of cancer, which they are, but we're not pushing. There is a way to fix this.
Sure. Protect them.
Yeah. There's a way to protect them, and to minimize this. At the end of the day, we can get cancer from brushing our teeth. I mean, it is what it is. But
sure,
but we can eliminate this and really draw it in. And the one thing we just had a MinFire, which is really big on cancer awareness, health, and firefighters, and suicide. And the one thing they said, the best thing you can do for a volunteer firefighter is a sauna.
Oh yeah.
So really? they get back, sweat it back out, get them pores opened up, wipe themselves down. Luckily for us in Detroit Lakes, we do have a sauna.
I see. I've heard that before.
Yeah, our old thinking was, 35 below, you're outside for 5 hours, you're cold to the bone. You crank the sauna up, when the guys get back, they stand in there for 10 minutes. It takes the cold out of their skin, out of their, and warms them up. They don't go home and shiver for 3 hours and then get sick. So we used it for that. Now we're finding there's another use for it. Yeah, so.
Yeah. So after all the difficult parts coming to operating and actually having, what is all the positive impact? What is it all that we do? I mean, we learned that we fight fires, whether it be in city, in rural, or in the fields, or you call it wildfires? Land fires.
Yeah.
So, but we also go and help in an accident. What else do we all do besides the kitten in the tree? But
the kitten in the tree we don't really do.
Do anyone? Okay.
The excuse me. The cartoon book was great for getting the kitty out of the tree, but the best way to let a kitty come out of a tree is just leave the kitty alone. It'll come down.
Right.
But we have done horses stuck in the swamps. Where a horse will end up in a swamp and they can't get out. We've gone out and pulled horses out of swamps. At the end of the day, when you can't figure out how to get something done and stuff's not going right, they call the fire department. Whether it's a gas line hit, the other day we shut down a whole 2 blocks of the city of Detroit Lakes from a gas line hit because we had high flowing natural gas, and it was actually getting into homes. So we had to shut some businesses down, had to barricade off a couple sections of town. And obviously we're doing it to protect people, So I mean, and what do we do while the gas is flowing? We have to just sit there and wait, protect the area, and wait it out till the gas company can finally, this time of year, get holes
Isolate.
dug in the ground,
Find the leak.
and they have to shut the lines off. They have to pinch them off, shut them off. A lot of these lines in the ground don't have valves, so they have to go in there with crimping tools and pinch the hoses off. So it takes time, So we do that type of stuff. We do car accidents. Car accidents can be anything from the gas tank is leaking and somebody needs to clean up the gas spill, to obviously it's a major accident and people are pinned in their vehicle and they need to get out so they can get to the hospital. Without the hydraulics and the tools like that, you don't come out. So
You're stuck.
You're stuck, yes. So that steering wheel will lay right down on your lap and you're not coming out of there.
Because you're pinned in.
Yes, because you'll be pinned in.
And then you have the tools and the equipment to distract, isolate, and break it open.
But yes, basically we have the equipment that we can tear a car apart. So we have rams that we can put in there, and we can actually push the dash, and we can make the dash move up a foot and a half away from you. Obviously some people are our size, some people are a lot bigger in today's time. So if we need more room, we can make more room. With hydraulics and stuff like that, we can make more room. So
what's with training? It's fine now. I volunteer. I'm not even the strongest individual, but how do I learn all that? Is there training? Obviously, when is that all going to happen?
So obviously, being volunteer fire departments, we're not looking for the person that has gone to a 2-year fire science degree. We're looking for the young kid that just got a job down the street, whether he's working, at a dealership or working at an office building, a banker, and and we're looking for that guy. And then we train him. We hire training companies to come in. Right now we're doing it's called block training. So there's companies that'll do this stuff. They come into a select fire hall, which they use the city of Detroit Lakes. They use our fire station. We have Otter Tails there. So the city of Otter Tail has some guys going there. Vergus does. I think New York Mills has some going. So then the other towns will send their new guys to DL, and then they get trained. So obviously this takes quite a while. When I did it, it was 2 nights a week, 4 hours a night, and it took 4 to 5 months. And then you get certified that you are a firefighter 1, firefighter 2 trained. And there's no cost to you other than your time. So then you get a certificate, so now you are a trained firefighter. Plus, in the meantime, we meet in DL, we meet every Wednesday. So tonight I'll have my business meeting, and then the rest of the week we train every Wednesday. So there we will train you as we also go. So that way not only are you getting class training with theory and books and the science behind it, but you're also getting a lot of the hands-on and the way, everybody has their own little way of doing things. There's a million different ways you can load hose on a truck. Just because we load it that way in DL doesn't mean that it's going to work in perm. It's so then you do those other trainings where you train them. This is how we do our stuff, so that way it all flows.
So okay, but you join but you get in-house training and then you get certified.
Yes.
Which is a gift. And then you could, even if you love it and you want to give back, if you move, you could use that certificate to work for or to help other fire departments.
Yeah, we've actually had, we currently have an individual that came from, I believe, Iowa, and when he came up here, he had his certification, so we were able to take his certification and send it to the state, and the state was able to it qualified for the right type of classes, so he was pre-trained. So he didn't have to go through classes again. So it's a lot of the same stuff in a lot of areas. So the nice thing is, you live in perm, you go through fire class. 5 years down the road, 8 years down the road, life makes a turn for you. You have to move to, let's say, Hibbing. And so you're living in the town of Chisholm up there. I'm just pulling some names here. You have the ability now that you are already trained. You could go to their fire hall and say, hey, I just moved into town. I got a job here. I'm already trained firefighter 1, firefighter 2. Do you have any openings? They're probably going to open-armed you and come on in. Here's your pager. Let's get started, because you've already got the training. You got some background. And then when you're moving into a new community, what's the best way to get new friends right off the bat and get new acquaintances than joining a volunteer group, So.
Yeah, no, I agree. So do you have if some people are interested, can they just come by any Wednesday, or is it like the first Wednesday of the month? So it's like a little orientation or open house. Do you welcome interested people any Wednesday evening? Is it 6 to 9, or what's your schedule?
So our business meeting is 7. Everything starts at 7:30. Our training starts at 7:30. Our business meeting starts at 7:30. So that's when those things take place. But if you're driving down the street and you see a garage door open at a fire hall, whether it's DL, Perm, Frazee, Vergas, I mean any city in the state, if that's where you live, any in the nation, if it's a volunteer organization, if the garage door's up, stop in. Every firehouse is willing to talk to somebody. They want to talk to you. We all like showing our stuff off, so we'll be more than happy to show you our equipment. And if it's a fit, like we have applications at the fire hall, we can hand you an application, fill it out. If you want to leave it with me, I'll turn it into the city, and we get something moving. So in the city of Detroit Lakes, obviously, wintertime, the doors are closed. But if you drive by and there's vehicles there, stop in. Use the back door, because that's the one we leave open or unlocked. But walk in, introduce yourself. Everybody's, they're going to point you in direction of the chief or a chief officer, and or you can just, if you want to talk to them, they're more than happy to talk to you. So, it's one way. If you're new to a community,
how to meet
new people, and I mean from bankers to construction guys,
colorful bunch.
It's just a wide variety.
Do we have female firefighters?
We do.
Good.
Yep.
Okay. Because it's an exhausting job, and I mean it. I mean, I am too weak probably, but so we have there's male and female people that are volunteering and working as far.
Yep.
Cool. Okay.
Yep.
So it's not only for men.
Correct.
It's not only
that's why I say members and I say firefighters.
No. I'm just clarifying.
So I mean it's we've in DL we've had we have our first female firefighter, and she is still current and active. We've had some other ones that have applied, and we've put them on, and then the one moved back to Wisconsin, and then the other one, she moved out of town too. I don't remember where she went. So, I mean, obviously they moved for job reasons. The one in Wisconsin, she went to work on a politician campaign. So, I mean, good for her. She likes to argue. So, but yeah, and so I mean, we've had three females throughout the Detroit Lakes.
Good.
And yeah, we still have one. So it really comes down to
who's interested and
who's interested. And you're right, Dirk. You have to at least be able to do stuff. You have to be able to start a chainsaw. You have to be able to swing an axe. It's a lot of upper body strength type stuff. I mean, obviously, but at the end of the day, there's nothing saying that men, women, whatever. It's
no. But it's exhausting. I mean, that's also if you need to have some sort of strength.
Yes.
Yeah. Mentally too, because I think there's also trauma. I mean, I actually am so hesitant to. I'm not really the best in seeing blood and stuff, so I think it's very, very. We don't even want to think about what the firefighters are confronted with when it becomes to an emergency situation. So you also need to be mentally very strong. I understand, and trauma it's It can be. It's heavy stuff.
It is heavy stuff. It's you have to have some coping skills and stuff like that. But the one thing I will say to that is the fire service has changed. It used to be, you're a tough guy. Deal with it, suck it up. We don't talk about it. The dirtier your equipment is, the stronger you are. You go into the hotter fire stuff like that. Well, then those are the guys getting cancer. The mental side of it is, times have changed. People have changed. Society has changed.
So we have debrief, and we have support.
We now have debrief. Like, so the city of Detroit Lakes, which has done an absolute awesome job in my mind, they have a contract with the village that is full disclosure. If a member has something that they don't want to talk to me or another captain or another firefighter, they can go to the village, just walk in. Obviously they have to identify themselves so they know it's a city employee, and there's no cost to the firefighter. The city absorbs all the cost. There's also MinFire. MinFire in the state of Minnesota is open to any firefighter. There's the 1-800 number. You give them a call. They'll talk to you on the phone. If it's something that they feel needs to be extended, they will send somebody to come see you. So, and obviously debrief you. I mean, from counselors to psychiatrists. Obviously we had a tragedy in Detroit Lakes not that long ago. So we had MinFire come down and talk obviously to the whole department, and they're sending people down that their husbands are in the fire service, or were retired in the fire service, or so they're sending people down that are trained in the fire service, so they understand what the firefighter is going through.
They're connected and have experience.
They're connected and they have experience, but they're also trained in how to help you process.
So they're professionals.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the whole thing there is, you have to hold your composure. You have to do your job, but at the end of the day, if it's not sitting well with you, we need to get you help.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and we need your help too. We need help. You're good that you're helped, but I think we can only invite whoever is interested to come to any open door,
yes.
Open bay, but also on Wednesdays. Don't be shy at 7:30 p.m. To join if they're really interested. And I hope that we are able to fill the gap of 5 missing members to support our fire department in the Detroit Lakes area. And I very much appreciate that you took the time to help us understand the responsibilities and the work that you actually do. Is there anything I missed asking, or was there something that you thought, I want to pass that out, or did we cover the story quite well, you think?
I think we covered a lot of things. Obviously, and like we were talking initially about trucks. So what do you think a new ladder truck costs?
A new ladder truck?
Yeah.
Beyond $500,000, so probably $639,000.
1.3.
Ooh, really? Double what I just guessed.
An engine, a pumper truck, is $500,000.
Wow.
Just the truck. That's no gear.
No gear.
That's just the truck. So the stuff's expensive.
Yeah.
And
we need it.
And we need it.
Yeah. So
and we're hard on it. I mean, they don't have a lot of miles. You go to a lot of communities, the trucks don't have a lot of miles, but it shows. I mean, they do get worked. So.
Well, unfortunately, but yeah. So I think this was very interesting, and those numbers may open somebody's eyes, and I think we should totally think about how much help we receive through a fire department in the community, and how much help we should actually give in that direction too. Yeah, so you are located on Highway 10, that is, right? When you enter town, I don't know the house number, but it's pretty visible. It's when you come over the bridge from the west side and roll down into the downtown corridor on the right-hand side, south side of Highway 10.
Right next to the new white drug.
Yeah, right there,
Yeah.
exactly, across the street from the Arvik building there in that area.
Yep.
So, yeah, well, thank you again for coming, and I hope not to see you very soon at a rescue situation, but nevertheless, hope to see you soon.
Well, thanks for the invite, Dirk. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. Yeah, this was already our newest episode of the Lake Life Weekend podcast. We sure hope you enjoyed it. Tune in again next week with another great guest and updates. Always check out our website, lakelifeweekend.com, and if you have some comments, please feel free to email us at hello@lakelifeweekend.com, and you have a wonderful weekend ahead.